a little. You can.
Sure. Sir, I will be taking 5 minutes maximum. Or 6:50, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay.
So up to 7:40 or so, you can take it.
Yeah.
7:40 to 8, we will have question answer. Coming up
Close
2 minutes.
also, and then we can have this. Am I clear? Am I clear? Or I think maybe I'll put on my.
So Himanshu sir and Rao sir, we are live on YouTube.
Great.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Yes.
Is this better? Better than before?
Yes, sir, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
So Himanshu sir, now it's over to you.
Okay. We'll have a few more seconds. 1 minute.
For the prayer, yoga.
Correct.
I think bandwidth is a little bit of a problem also.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
मेरा तो ठीक है. I think now it is okay. I hope it is. You are able to hear me now?
We are getting. It is 6:45. So, should we start, Rao sir?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Respected Rao sir, veterans who are into various kind of places, young professionals, and many friends. Good evening and warm welcome. I'm Himanshu Bhatt from National NHRD Network, South Gujarat chapter. It is an honor that National NHRD Network is joining in celebrating an achievement of its one of the chapters at national level, and our respected Dr. T.V. Rao Saab is here to bless us. There can't be anything better than this, really. So great coincidence, so great a situation for us. Truly, we are grateful to Sri Rao Saab. South Gujarat chapter of National NHRD Network is celebrating its 101st, truly 101st uninterrupted monthly meeting. That means for 8 years and 5 months, without break, we had monthly network. During this time, we had 3 conventions, 1 leadership think shop, and 10 full day programs with very good attendance, but with no fees. Professor Rao Saab had advised, so I had sent a note and was published in National NHRD Network newsletter, which gives a lot of detail about our experiment. But still, I would like to express my gratitude to a few who are behind this success. Our enthusiastic participants, our excellent and selfless faculties like Rao Saab, Sri Vivek Patwardhanji, etc. Our supportive industrial community, our reliable sponsors, our always willing institutions, and our team of highly committed professionals. मैं हमेशा इनको देव दुर्लभ टीम कहता हूं. This team is very resourceful, very capable, and yet very humble, extremely humble. Our experience can be summed up in few lines. Probably these lines are liked by Dr. Rao Saab. National HRD network chapter can run without money, but cannot run without a great team. And second point, which probably all seniors and all those people who are here listening, they all will appreciate. In our team, everyone and seniors, they do not think, यदि मैं नहीं जाऊंगा तो चलेगा. They all think, मैं नहीं जाऊंगा तो नहीं चलेगा. That is the reason why we have reached here. Performance management has been a subject of great interest. Performance management system design per se may have little issues, but the practice of performance management may have many when this subject is to be handled by a veteran like Dr. Rao Saab, who has done pioneering work on this subject, truly pioneering work on this subject, and has put India onto a commendable position. So when he shares, it becomes more interesting. He is going to be sharing with us on a subject, some of the best practices in performance management for leaders. Before I conclude, I must say, and I request Rao Saab to bear with me. At our chapter, we are fortunate to have been getting kindness from Rao Saab continuously. हमेशा उनका प्यार हमको मिलता रहता है. He had foregone the royalty of one of his fresh new book for our chapter so that all the participants can get it. He is such a great human being. To me and to all of us at our chapter, he's a mix of professional excellence, care, and humility. We owe a lot to him. Friends, ऐसे लोग बार बार नहीं आते. For some of his blessings, and many of the best thoughts, I now request Dr. T.V. Rao Saab to take over. Dr. T.V. Rao Saab.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Himanshu. Very nice of you for all your kind words. I think all of us are great. Everyone is great. There is no difference. I don't consider myself in any way greater than anyone in the audience or anyone of you. It is simply God's grace which has given certain things to help and disseminate whatever I know to people. So it is so nice of you to have said whatever you have said. I think I must congratulate your chapter. 101 meetings non-stop, which almost about 8-9 years, right? 8 to 9 years you have been doing monthly meetings every month. So I think this is a wonderful feat. And then also you are saying,
yes, sir,
that you have not, don't charge anything, which I have myself witnessed. And you are also fortunate to have so many of the HRD network leaders visiting you. Not only me, I saw Yogi Sriram visiting you, and several of the presidents visiting you, and so on. So I think all of them have been kind enough. And then the last meeting I attended, Dhananjay also made it a point to come. Earlier, Satyanarayana used to visit you for quite some time. And in addition to all of it, the young people who are working with you, they're devoted kind of a thing. I strongly believe in recent years, I have been talking about human is not merely a resource, human is a possibility. Is more a possibility than merely a resource. This is for many years I did not agree when somebody said human is not a resource. But recently I have started agreeing because we have reduced human being to a resource and forgot the human part of it. Why I'm taking time to mention about this is the performance of the South Gujarat chapter, your performance, sets the new standards. Especially when you say for 101 continuous months, I'm sure there may have been gaps here and there, but 101 times you met without charging anybody fee is indicative of what a chapter can do and what human beings has possibilities. It makes me to be more convinced. That is one of the reasons why when National HRD Network in the third presidency of the National HRD Network, the third presidency is Uday Parikh. Uday Parikh made it a point to request chapters to register themselves as separate chapters because he believed, and I also, I think, very much believed this, unless the chapters work on their own. This is the performance of the chapters. Now you have set new standard by showing that if you give freedom, well, if you don't need to give freedom, who has given you freedom? You have taken the freedom, right? You have taken the freedom and you started this standard and then you have managed it. Nobody needs to give freedom. You'll have to take the freedom. So any chapter can decide to perform and explore new possibilities and set new standards. In fact, when you asked me to speak on performance management best practices, I wondered for a while whether I should talk of best practices or I should talk of next practices. My colleague, one time colleague C.K. Prahlad, unfortunately died early, he used to say that best practice always makes you secondary to somebody else. If you want to follow best practice, you'll never be first. You will be only number two at best or number three. So don't talk of best practice. So talk of next practice. What is it that should be done? So today, while you have titled as best practices in performance management for leaders, I would want to talk about both best and next practices in performance management. You started off by saying how performance management is dearer to me. I want to let one secret out for those who were born in after 80s, those who belong to Gen Z. Gen Y may know it, Gen X certainly would know it. And the secret is the seed for HRD, for Uday Parikh and me to think of human resources development was sown by performance appraisal system. Our assignment in Larsen and Toubro in 1974-75 was to examine the performance appraisal system and suggest a new appraisal system. So when we examined performance appraisal system and talked to people, the kind of inputs they gave made us feel that we should not merely be talking about performance appraisal, but we should be talking of in the context human resource development. That is when we conceptualized a new department called as Human Resource Development Department. So the basis of HRD is performance appraisal. But I don't want to continue the story, which I think most of you know. From 1975 onwards, in fact, for 3 years, the Larsen and Toubro performance management system, it was called appraisal system, was called as HRD system. They were only implementing new performance appraisal we talked of with the name HRD, Human Resource Development System. For almost about 2 to 4 years, I think they also went into decentralization and things of that kind, a whole lot of things that they have done. In the last 45 years, a lot of developments have taken place in performance appraisals. Now, first thing I have been abandoning the term appraisal and have been arguing for the last 10 years that don't ever talk of appraisals, now only talk of performance management. Now, today, when you ask me to talk of the best practices and next practices, I want to start with the most important assumptions that are required to make any performance management system work. the most important assumptions. The assumption is our assumptions about human beings. The first assumption that I love to talk about is about why people come to perform. Why do people come to work? I think for many years we have assumed, I think this is changing. Human beings are getting uh, mature and mature. I think they are evolving. I think if you listen to Sadhguru, he would say that we are constantly evolving. I think as the world is progressing, we are also evolving. I think we have evolved. Now, I want to say the most important evolution that has taken place is people don't come anymore for working to get their salaries. I think it is a wrong thing to say post COVID, because I think we are all struggling to manage our salaries, manage our bread and butter. But at the same time, I do want to say pre-COVID, and I think this is a temporary phase we are going to go through. Soon we will all realize even COVID situation has demonstrated very much that it is not the money which matters. If it is money which matters, you would not have found millions of migratory workers on the roads, walking all the way by foot, cycling, carrying their old mothers, spouses, and children, walk all the way as much as 1,000 to 1,500 kilometers. Now, it is not the money, no, it is something else which drove them to do whatever they have done. So, the most important assumption we should re-examine is, why do people come to work? I believe that now people come to work because they enjoy work and they want to feel significant. Significance is the most important thing. People perform whatever they are performing to feel significant, and not merely to get incentives and rewards. I would want to think, I'm sure so many of you listening to me would want to argue on this and say that people only work for money. I think if you treat people as working for money, you will treat money as people as resources. You won't treat them as human beings. If you treat a human being as a human being, you will understand a human being wants the significance. It doesn't mean that they don't want money. Money is a means of becoming significant, but there are a lot more things that we can do to make people significant. I'm sure most of you have heard the story of, I think this story many people narrate, including the people from other countries. Even I heard Dave Ulrich narrating this, that when you ask a person who is laying bricks and putting a wall, one person said, I'm just laying bricks and this is my target to complete this particular wall by the evening and things of that kind. Whereas somebody else said, I am constructing a temple to bring peace on earth, to make people live happily, collaboratively, and so on. So that means the second person is seeing meaning in what he is doing, and he is likely to work with a lot more devotion than the first person who is only day-to-day target driven or monthly target driven, quarterly target driven. This brings me to a very important point. We must understand people don't come to work to achieve their KRAs and at the end of the day get promotions and money, but people want to do something meaningful so that when they know whatever they are doing is going to serve a larger kind of a purpose, they are likely to work with much higher level of devotion. So these are the most important assumptions that we need to examine in the new benchmarks we want to set for performance management. I want all those who are involved in performance management to understand that it is not the money and incentives which make people enjoy the work. It is the way you treat them which makes them to enjoy work. This is the most important thing which changes our entire orientation to performance management. Second thing in the new performance management I want to say is that performance management is not the job of HR department, or is not the job of the supervisors or the organizations and so on. I think it is assumed performance management is the job of every performer. In other words, every person is the manager of his or her own performance. Third thing I would want to say is performance is planned every day, every month, every week, every quarter, every annually. So performance planning is not to be limited to annual targets, quarterly targets, monthly targets. I think it is planned every day. I think I plan my day every day when I walk in the morning. I keep thinking, what am I going to do in the evening? At the end of the day, I start thinking, okay, now what is the agenda for the next tomorrow? what are the webinars I need to attend, which ones do I choose, and things of that kind. So performance planning is daily, weekly, monthly, annually. Now, there is nothing like a particular system. You evolve your own system. Organizations have their own system, but I think we need to realize that the more you plan, I normally say you work about 2,000 hours in a year, 2,000 to 2,400 hours. Even if you plan even if you spend 1% of the time to plan your work, you are likely to do the 99% so well. In fact, I think people say spend even 10% of your time planning for what you want to do for the 90%. We don't like Chinese, but at this point of time, but I think there are a lot of Chinese proverbs which you say spend 60 to 70% of the time sharpening your axe before you cut the tree. If you have a sharper axe, you can cut the tree well. And I'm sure we all know how much they believe in this on the basis of whatever recently happening events, how much time they have probably sharpening the axe, that when they begin to cut, then I think other side is really taken quite a bit by surprise and so on. So I think the lesson to learn is spend enough time to plan your work so that you will be able to do work. The fourth thing that I like to say is performance planning is not due to appraisals. We are doing budgeting every now and then. We are not the only ones. It's not only HR department. Everyone is budgeting. You are doing daily meetings. It is not HR which is doing daily meetings. There are daily meetings. There are weekly meetings in production, manufacturing. There are daily production meetings, weekly review meetings, monthly meetings, quarterly meetings. If you look at all the meetings that are taking place, all the Zoom calls that are taking place, I think all this is performance. Anything that you do from morning, once you are out of your daily chores and you start thinking about your office, till the time you stop thinking about your office, all that you are doing is performance. This is something which we need to be remembered. So it is not only carry setting exercises what HR departments ask us to do, which is performance, but it is every minute, whatever you are doing, it is performance, and it's a part of the performance process. I think we have forgotten this, and we start thinking performance means it is only an annual exercise. It comes only in the month of April, or comes only in the beginning of the year, once in a quarter. I am very sorry. The most important thing to remember is we are performing every minute, every second, every hour, and we have to plan for it. Many things that are happening in our organizations are performance processes, performance management. I would also want to say the next important point. We in the beginning, when we started the performance appraisal system in Larsen & Toubro, we talked of performance counseling. In fact, we trained a lot of L&T managers as performance counselors. They are all trainers. In 1975 itself, there was a joke of L&T University. I think universities in those days corporate universities didn't exist, but L&T executives used to call themselves as forming a L&T University, because there were about 120 of them trained to be trainers in performance counseling. We introduced performance counseling. Now later, Americans, when Uday Parikh and I sent an article to be published in University Associates in California, they changed the title and they said, no, we want to publish the same article. Instead of calling it performance counseling, we'll call it coaching, because counseling is outdated, coaching is in. So in 1982-83, they published our article calling it performance coaching, and many principles we talked about those. Now, recently, in the last 5 to 10 years, when I revised my book, I said even performance coaching become outdated, and we introduced a new term called performance conversations. Because coaching means, it has to be planned, it has to be budgeted, it has to be quarterly, but performance conversation can take place in the canteen, can take place when you are walking for a 5-minute performance conversation. It can take place with a whole lot of people. Therefore, we introduced a new term, performance conversations. But much before, about 20 years ago, we introduced another non-controversial term, which I'm sure most of you have seen, PRDs, performance review discussions. But I think performance conversations is much more evolved kind of a concept. So I want to say the next new practice I want to talk of is performance conversations are, this is the most important thing I'm going to say, are upward learning methods. Most of the time we said it is the boss who has to initiate a performance conversation so that the junior can be helped to develop. I am sorry, I think it is juniors are already evolved people. Today we are in a changed world. It is the seniors who will have to learn from juniors. So I want to say performance conversations are upward learning methods. This is the uh, new practice that we have to talk of. When you enter into a performance conversation with your junior, don't think that you are passing on something to that person and you are helping that person to learn. My dear friend, you are having a conversation with your junior to learn yourself. You are learning about how well this person is doing, how well the person is understanding the environment, so that you can understanding the environment. You understand the difficulties he is facing. You understand the interpretation he gives, so that you become more educated about the kind of realities he or she is facing, and you work out your own kind of a job. So when you have a performance conversation, it is not necessarily giving role clarity to your junior. It is providing role clarity to you. This is the new benchmark we have to look at. Another important point that I want to mention at this point of time is performance ratings. I started hating performance ratings. In 1974 itself, we have given a performance appraisal system to Larsen and Toubro, where we clearly said de-link rewards with performance appraisals. This was a statement. You can go through our book, which is available from the Academy of HRD. L&T was kind enough to make this book available. You note there what Uday Parikh and I have said, because when you want to use appraisals as development tools, if you have ratings and link ratings with rewards, it is going to create emotional problems. And therefore, we want to de-link performance appraisal ratings with rewards. Performance appraisal ratings are discussion points and feedback kind of mechanisms. Unfortunately, people didn't listen. L&T listened to us for about 5 to 7, 8 years. But after that, they also, I think, threw up, and then somebody introduced MBO in their system, and then they started linking with rewards, and then they discovered development is not taking place. They went through ups and downs. I think you should ask Yogi Sriram. He will tell you the latest. I think L&T went on experimenting, but I'm not at this point. I'm talking about L&T. I'm talking about my own feeling today. I think ratings reduce people to numbers. Please underline this. Performance ratings, which you give at the end of the year, reduce people to numbers. No wonder Sadhguru says it's a crime to call human as a resource. Anything that is measured reduces human being, limits his capability. Therefore, don't use measurement to reduce human being to a number. Now, I have come to realize performance appraisals that are aimed at objectivity, producing a rating scale and a scaling and differentiate people, use bell curve, all that demotivates people rather than motivating them. So don't reduce people to numbers. Please respect them. And I go on to say that if necessary, throw away the ratings. It is not the rating which is important. It is how well the person is performing and what can be done to help the person to perform better. That is what is important. Now, if you don't have ratings, how am I going to assess the person? How do I reward? I would want to say, I think this is again a mistake that we have made. There were many researchers that have indicated, I'm sure some of you have read Chris Argyris and a number of people, they have in recent years said it looks as though people are working for incentives. People have forgotten to work for enjoying work. They are working for incentives. What a tragedy. Do you go to work in order to get 1,000 rupee increment at the end of the month, or 10,000 rupee increment, whatever is the increment? Or do you go to work because you are, by working, you are producing a service or you're producing a product which may transform the lives of other kind of a people? I think we have forgotten this great kind of a thing, and we are saying if you don't perform, you will not get your increment. If you don't perform, you don't get your promotion. I think it is all mere nonsense. I think people should perform. The best incentive, best reward you can give is to help people to enjoy whatever work they are doing. What is the reward that you are giving me in this particular webinar? I think I enjoy. I enjoy the respect you give me, whatever you are saying. I enjoy people listening to me. I enjoy people coming back to questions. And when I feel that, look, I have helped somebody, I have saved the pain of somebody by pointing out, why don't use bell curve? Bell curve makes 10% people outstanding and 90% people they treats as average performers. Do you want to make 10 people happy at the cost of 90 people, or do you want to keep everyone happy? So the job of performance management is to make everyone take interest in the job. And in order to do that, most important task of performance management is to create an environment where people enjoy the work that they do. I think these are the tenets that we have to understand in terms of performance management. I would now highlight a few purposes and objectives of performance appraisal and what is the shift that we are talking of in terms of performance appraisal. I would want to talk of a best practice first, and I want to talk of the next practice next. In terms of the purpose and objectives, normally the purpose of performance management, the best practice of performance management is to align individual work or goals with organizational goals. For long we have said that. Why performance management? Because normally you, in order to align whatever the individual does with organizational goals. For that we say you must define the annual goals of the organization, break it down into departmental goals, then after that pass it on to the individual and then set his goals so that whatever the individual does is aligned to the organizational goals. This is the best practice. Now I want to say next practice. Next practice is go beyond organizational goals. Align each individual's performance to stakeholder goals. I want to take the example of HR itself. HR people should realize their stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? If you are a HR manager, your stakeholders, the first most important stakeholder are your employees or the people whom you serve. That is why Dave Ulrich has written this book, HR as an Employee Champion. This is the most important stakeholder. Second most important stakeholder is your customer. Of course, in the recent past, I have said the most important stakeholder for HR in COVID time is you yourself. You yourself a stakeholder. If you don't take care of your health, your family's health, your family's welfare, there can't be any salvation for the future. Therefore, I have always put take care of yourself, your health, and your family, because family is a great support for you. Your health, your family's health, and so on. If you take care of that, you have done a part of your job. So you take care of yourself, your family who is a stakeholder, take care of your employees, your all the people, not only your juniors, your entire company. Then your stakeholder is the your colleagues from other departments, the finance department, the material department, supply chain department, marketing department. Then your stakeholder is the top management or the organization with its goals, the board, and so on. And you also have an important stakeholder. That important stakeholder are the shareholders of the company. And if you go to US, most of the US companies talk about intellectual capital building. In fact, there are many research studies, including that of Dave Ulrich, which indicate that a contribution HR can make is to the intellectual capital, brand building of the company, and also in terms of developing the invisible capital, which includes the human capital of the company and so on. So the most important stakeholder of your company is a shareholder who is all the time looking for movements in shares. And if your top management as a team leaves one fine morning, the share falls down. So you have not catered to this, or your migratory labor is not there, your shares fall down, you have not catered to it. Therefore, I think it's enough to align individual goals to organizational goals. You need to align each individual's goals to stakeholder goals, and the most significant stakeholder is ultimately the customer. You have to be. Recently, I was working with some IT company, and in this IT company, some of those people who are working on projects mentioned that they don't get an opportunity to meet the customer. They only get information from another department about the customers. I said, why don't you make some effort to meet the customer? No, we are not allowed. I said, what nonsense are you talking? So why should somebody allow you to go to a customer? Why can't you? Who is your customer? If a bank is your customer, why can't you just go to a bank and find out how your software is working? If insurance agency is your customer, why don't you go out? Why do you say my company will have to allow me to do that? Which is a sheer nonsense. Therefore, I would want to say the performance management, the new practice is align every individual to stakeholder goals. It doesn't mean that every stakeholder you have to take care of, at least you should think of. In the past, number two, best practice in the past is differentiate people. Performance management is meant to differentiate people. This is a very nonsensical kind of a thing. For long years, I mean, I am a party to this. I've also subscribed to this. We want to have an objective system so that you can differentiate people, put somebody as an outstanding performer, so somebody as a low performer, and things of that kind. I'm sorry, this is a wrong objective. I think those days are gone. We need to, the new practice, next practice is performance management should integrate people. In our country, we are dying of differentiation. We have so many ways in which people are differentiated. You differentiate by caste, you differentiate by community, you differentiate by religion, you differentiate by department, you differentiate even when a group of students come from IIMs. Which IIM are you from? A, B, C, L, Trivandrum, Lucknow, etc., etc. I'm sorry, I think we have enough differentiation which killed performance in this country. It is high time we should integrate. In fact, the best lesson for integration, I tell people, please remember, every human being has come from dust and returns to dust. This is common for all. We are all born, came from dust, and we are all going to be dust. So please help people to integrate with the larger societal goals. You are there to serve a larger humanity, understand this, and so on. Third best practice is measurement. Is a best practice. I don't need to say. We came up with behaviorally anchored scales. We came up with even 360 appraisals, so many things, because we want to measure people. I want to say the next practice is not measurement, improvement. You can bring improvement without measurement. In fact, sometimes it may be useful not to measure in order to improve, because sometimes measurement can be threatened. The third best practice is reward good performance. I want to say it is a best practice. I don't want to say it is a bad practice. It's a good practice. But I want you to go beyond this. And the next practice is not merely rewarding good performance, acknowledge. It is enough if you acknowledge good performance. And you should acknowledge every day. Whenever somebody does a good thing, you should acknowledge. Whenever somebody is not up to mark, share your thoughts and help that person to come up to your mark. What is your mark the other person may not know? Recognize, build on strengths, and acknowledge. So the next practice is, from best practice, reward good performance, we should move to recognize and acknowledge. Utilizing talent is the best practice. You must always use the talent. Find out what a person is good at, and utilize it. Now the next practice is enhance the talent. Now today I have been telling people that COVID has demonstrated that there is going to be a shortage of talent. When there is shortage of talent, what are you going to do? You have to multiply talent. How will you multiply talent? Now HR people will have to go on to do other kind of things. Suppose you are posted into supply chain department. Will you therefore say that no, I am trained to be a HR guy, I am not in supply chain? For those of you who want to know what a great next practice is to be versatile, you must have listened just about day before yesterday, a HRD, National HRD Network organized a talk by Masala Mani, who BIMTech and who earlier worked with Timex companies. He narrated, I didn't know about this, in 1992-93, when he was faced with a talent crisis. One of the things he narrated he had done was appointed a supply chain management person as in charge of HR, and he has done a marvelous job. Not only he has done a marvelous job, he was later recruited by a multinational company for the wonderful qualifications he has had as a CEO of that kind of a company. So I want to say, move from utilizing talent to enhancing talent. Develop versatility in all people. So performance management systems, the next practice should focus on multiplicity and developing versatility of talent and so on. I have already talked about it in my book, Managers Who Make a Difference. There is a chapter on versatility of Indian managers. What kind of different things a manager, irrespective of the department in which you are expected to do, and so on. The other practice, I don't want to say it is a best practice, but it is a practice we are following. We are doing PMS, which is emotion based. You observe one of your juniors, he is not doing a good job, and you are utterly upset about him. So you show your anger by saying, now I want to conduct an appraisal session for you. So whenever you are upset, you conduct an appraisal system. You normally don't conduct an appraisal system when you are elated with good performance of your junior, because you say, if I do the appraisal now, he would ask me for promotion. So normally you are negative emotion-based performance. I think quite a few people have done that. And in fact, it's not uncommon for me to observe in some of the banks I work. This fellow is not behaving the way I wanted him to behave. The other day I called him, coached him, and set him right. Now see the statement: coached him and set him right. This is an emotion-based PMS. I want to, I want you to move to the next practice. We should have a devotion-based performance management system. The person should be devoted to work. He should be devoted to cause, and you become an instrument of inspiring that particular person to be devoted to work. I was amazed at the way, I think, at this Isha Foundation, people work selflessly as volunteers. They are not paid anything, they are only given food. But the way they were able to do anything that you want to construct uh, a the largest face on earth, which is Adi Yogi's face. Some of you may have visited. I mean, it is a record time. Even our Prime Minister appreciated what a wonderful thing Sadhguru has been able to manage, and how people work because they enjoy work. That is a kind of a devotion. That devotion comes when you enjoy the larger kind of a purpose. I'm sure some of you have heard Robin Sharma talk about it in his chapter 4 on leadership wisdom. He said the main job of a manager or a supervisor is to link paycheck with purpose. Link paycheck with purpose, by which he is meaning that a job of a good manager is constantly remind the performer what a great thing that he is doing and what is the larger purpose for which he or she is working, and so on. The best practice in the past has been to have promotion driven PMS, because we assume that we tell them that you are going to be promoted if you do well, then the person will work well. I think this may be the best practice in the past, but it is going to be the best practice. Promotions have lost their meaning now. I think we are now talking of flat structures. We are talking of title, a leader without a title and things of that nature. So I think the move now, the next practice is improvement-based performance rather than promotion-driven, motion-driven, or movement-driven, or improvement-driven performance management. Also, we should have, from a commotion-driven performance, you think of a performance management system. Whenever the CEO gets a little annoyed, says we are not doing well, there is a commotion in the company, oh, our PMS is not well, let us examine this, to a culture built or notion or culture driven performance. I think this is what we need to be moving towards as a next practice, and so on. In sum, what I want to say is we need to make our performance management stakeholder driven, or I'm using another term, borrowing from a term which we have used in our TVRLS, the role set based competency mapping. This is something which we have been promoting for the last 20 years. If you want to decide the competencies required to perform a role, you understand the role set and interview the role set based people and identify competencies. Now, I like to propose the next practice of performance management should be role set based performance management, RSBPM, role set based performance management. Or alternately, I want to call it stakeholder driven performance management, SHDPM. Stakeholder driven performance management. What do I mean by this? It's very simple. I think those of you who know our theories of role set, you will understand this. If you want to improve, if you want to make an impact in your performance, first identify your role set members and decide the stakeholders. Identify who are your role set members. Every performer should have on a piece of paper role set members listed. Like I mentioned, a large number of people, everyone should identify these are the role set members, or these are my stakeholders. It includes your boss, boss, maybe direct reports who are under you, maybe indirect reports, internal customers and suppliers, which includes quality department, cost department, speed, external customers, suppliers, community, shareholders. You have to put a list of, you can put them in a rank order, whatever you want to do, but you must every day say, these are my stakeholders. So identify your role set, identify your stakeholders. Understand organizational goals and contributions expected from you through these stakeholders. So that means you have to have periodic conversations. You can have conversations with your boss every day, maybe once a week, depending on the kind of setting you are, maybe once a month, maybe every day with your juniors, maybe once in a fortnight with your customers, or maybe once in a quarter with your customers. You decide. make it a point maybe to meet your stakeholders. I think one of the beautiful things I have observed in IIM Ahmedabad, this was thanks to Professor Samuel Paul, and I'm sure this particular thing was initiated by Ravi Mathai and Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. I think we use it to look for every quarter there used to be a board meeting. Whenever there was a board meeting, there was a faculty lunch with all the board members. And Professor Samuel Paul used it to make it a point to introduce all new faculty to board members. He will take new faculty from one to another and pass on to the board members. And board members knew everyone. And I don't know if some of you know, I mean, this is the great thing about Professor Samuel Paul. It was in the year that I joined. It is through this process I came to Mr. Yugandhar Nadella, father of Satya Nadella, was introduced to me by Professor Samuel Paul, director of IIM Ahmedabad, in one of these meetings. And he was at that time in charge of the Masuri Academy. And later, Yugandhar became a board member of the Academy of HRD. And at some point of time, he got with us and he said that, look, I thought you people in the academy are doing a lot of NGO work. I think you are all too much corporatized. I don't have much of an interest in. I mean, such a wonderful person. The statements he made helped us. I'm mentioning this to say that it is important to meet your stakeholders. Why can't you put your employees to meet? I think sometimes the other shareholders of your company and so on. Some of them, maybe some representatives and so on. I think it does wonders. So role set based performance management or stakeholder based performance management requires you to understand what a wonderful products and services your company is manufacturing. That is why you start with identifying the role set. And I would like to see every human being having in front of him the role set, including a migratory labor. Even if there is a daily wage laborer, he should know who is his role set member. You will see he is working in an entirely different world when a migratory laborer knows that he is building a temple which is meant to bring peace on earth, or he is building a hospital which will help people in COVID times, or he is building a pharmaceutical company which produces drugs to help a large number of people. He is totally into a different kind of a world. So third thing I want to say, understand therefore contributions expected. Third thing is get expectations from, if they can't be with the stakeholders, the seniors find out the expectations and communicate expectations and obligations to the people. So you become a tool of helping people to understand. Then plan each individual's performance to meet the requirements of the role set or stakeholders. In other words, role set based performance planning or stakeholder based performance planning is going to be the next practice. Now follows logically from this, role set based performance conversations becomes the next practice. So that means you are not only conversing with your senior, you're conversing with your customer, you're conversing with your junior, you're conversing with your colleague to review your performance, to get inputs from your performance, to get support from your performance, to make a difference in the lives of others. So you have role set based performance planning, role set based performance conversations, and role set based even development dialogues. You can have role set based and periodically discuss and review the progress with these role set based people. List and communicate accomplishments, failures. If necessary, it is in this context, you can use a 360-degree feedback and things of that nature. I think it is in this context, it is a useful thing to also have periodic dialogues with the community and so on. What are the other next practices? I want to mention about 2 or 3 other next practices and want to stop soon in the next 5 to 7 minutes so that we get at least a clear 20 minutes for question answers. I want to say in terms of the next practices, there is no change in terms of KRAs, KPAs, and KPIs. They are good practices. Retain them. Have KRAs, KPAs, and KPIs. But don't be just satisfied with reducing them to the numbers. Get into activities. I think what you should do is, rather than KRA, KPA planning, there is nothing much is required for planning KPIs. They are all well set. Everyone knows the KPIs and KPIs. By now, if you don't know your KPIs, I think your company has not evolved. So these are reasonably well known. There is no point in discussing KRAs, KPIs. Take them as given. But what we need to discuss is what are the activities you need to do, and with what kind of accuracy, with what kind of speed, and with how much of time you are going to do this activity. So what is required is activity planning, which is going to be the next practice. Plan your activities. You have 8 hours a day, maybe about 180 hours in a month, and about 2,800, 2,400 hours or 2,000 hours in a year. You don't have to plan for the entire 2,000 hours. Can you plan for 8 hours a day? Can you spend 10 minutes to decide what are you going to do for the next 7 to 8 hours? Or can you, for the weekly 40, 48 hours which you are going to work, can you spend 1 hour to decide what are you going to do in the 48 hours? So what are you going to do? Do is the most important thing. Do. So you have to plan activities, because in our country, we are notorious for wasting our time. We waste our time and we blame our bosses. He never clarified my KRAs. We tell the boss. Why should somebody clarify your KRAs? It is not the boss wasted your time. You are wasting your time. You should be ashamed of yourself for not clarifying. It is not the job of the boss to clarify how you should be using your time. Because if you have wasted your time, you wasted your talent, you wasted your life. So be aware that you are the performer. Your boss will conveniently escape tomorrow by saying he is a poor performer. He will secretly and openly, and when he tells you, you have nowhere to go. I think don't depend on the bosses to improve your performance. You have to improve your own kind of a performance. So what I want to recommend is the next practice is outline the activities and find out the time activities. You are the master of your time. If you don't plan your time and if you don't plan your activities, if you are all the time biting your nails, waiting for the boss to tell you what to do next, you will only be biting your nails all through life, and you will die, I think, a death in which you'll die as nobody. I would also recommend the next practice: abolish ratings. No ratings. I think ratings have done enough chaos in our life. I think it is high time. And those of you who are asking about, don't ask me this question, what happens to bell curve? No bell curve. Throw it out of the window. I think the best you can do is go to a temple and ring the bell of the God and say, Almighty God, save me. No bell curve, no bells, no ratings. Because it is the ratings which have reduced a human being to a number. Human beings are more than numbers. I don't think you need anything more than, I think, last 3 months experience to tell us what wonderful human beings we are. I think we are great human beings. I think we should treat them with respect. No need for rewards. Don't look for annual increments. I think it is nonsense. It looks as though you are working for a paltry 5% increase, 10% increase, and you are willing to sacrifice anything you like, including licking the shoes of your boss. Why do you want to do that? I think be a respecting, self-respecting human being. I think it is enough. I think we have a lot to learn from Japanese. The way Japanese celebrate, I think for them, offering a small keychain or a small little flower is the best reward one can get. The fellow is smiling all through the year just because he got a keychain or a small kind of a reward. I think a good word should be good. I think good words should be flowing all the time from each one of us rather than looking for rewards. I would strongly recommend public sector, private sector, every sector to abolish rewards. I don't want to say that you should not be giving additional increments, etc., etc. You think of what are the ways in which you can do that. Actually, it is also not needed, and so on. Work itself should be rewarding. When you make work itself as rewarding, there is no need for somebody to tell you this is a great reward. Every time I go to a bank and work with, I like to, I'm rather than using the ATM, I like to go and chat with the officers at my bank, and they are quite happy to see me, except nowadays, even if I go, even in the last 1 month, I visited twice with my mask on and so on. I think it is a pleasure to see you, sir, but we would recommend you please avoid coming because you are a senior citizen. We want you to live longer, but we are very happy. So I like to, and I am always the same person working there, and I'm amazed about the devotion with which the person is working. Because the person says, sir, if I don't come, what happens to the hundreds of people who maintain their accounts, people who come for advances? I think the person is so much devoted. She is enjoying the work that she is doing. What a wonderful thing. So I think if you I work, you forget about rewards. We don't work for rewards. We work for making difference in the lives of others. I think for us, the next practice is to make every role set member as a source of energy and happiness through empathy, collaboration, and support. I would want to say two more things and close my talk at this point of time. I think if you have a performance management system of this kind, I'm not saying don't record or anything. I think whatever you do, it's a good idea to record. I even now, I have a habit of, for example, for this talk, uh, you may not, Himanshu, you may be quite surprised. TV Rao sir knows quite a lot about PMS. He does not need to perform. Prepare for this particular thing. Many people tell me, TV, we can wake you up in the middle of the night, you can still give a lecture without any preparation. Not true. Partly true. I can recite my whole book of HR dictionary even if you wake me up in the night. But when Himanshu asked me just day before yesterday, I think it is 2 days ago when you asked me, I readily agreed to give this particular kind of a webinar. I think from the time I accept, this is on my mind. What do I communicate? So my preparation in the last 2 days, I have not done anything except mostly thinking of what point do I make. And I'm looking at my past PowerPoints, I look up a whole lot of things. I must have spent mentally at least about 5 to 6 hours thinking about this session and saying what is it that I want to say and reworking on and I pick up a notebook and keep writing a few points. So if I have a notebook, every webinar I attended, some of the salient points I note down. So I think it's a good idea to note down. I think in performance management, every person at the end of the day should note down one thing that helped you to do whatever you have done, one thing that prevented you from doing. In a month, you will have 20 things that have helped you to do whatever you have done, and 20 things that have prevented you from doing better. So you have 40 things. In a year, you will have 12 multiplied by 40, 480 things. And if the HR department collects from 10 people, there are 4,800 things. And the biggest job HR department is look at all those prevented people from doing better and help to reduce the negatives and help them to. This is what we call as a, a, a HR person becomes a OD consultant. HR people should stop becoming performance managers and should become organization development facilitators, where their job is not to send performance appraisal forms and collect ratings because there are no ratings to collect, no performance plan to collect. Their job is to go to employees and ask them what helped you to do whatever you have done in the last few days, what prevented you from doing better, can reduce those that prevented you and help you to do something better on those that are helping you. So use the data for upward development. Use, I think if you become a OD person, you create a culture. So my recommendation is use performance appraisals as an exercise for as an OD tool. And the last thing that I want to say and then conclude, I'm sure some of you have heard the three-box theory of Dr. Govindarajan. It's a wonderful theory. I think after C.K. Prahlad, Govindarajan is the next management guru, worldwide respected. I'm sure most of you know about him and read about him. It is a three-box theory says that most of us do not innovate, do not go forward because we are doing the same thing again and again. And in his three-box theory, he says, I think it is important to focus on the present and selectively forget the past and prepare for the future. You must devote at least certain percentage for the future. So all your KRAs and KPIs, you must ask them, which of these KRAs and KPIs, which of my performance plans are for the future? Which of the performance plans are for achieving the present targets? And which of performance KPIs, KRAs, I can selectively forget. So I think each time you come up with KPIs and KRAs or targets and activities, you must remove some activities and say, I have done this for so long, I don't want to do this. Pass it on to your juniors, pass it on to somebody else. If you are doing the same thing again and again, you are not growing. So every year you should remove about 10 to 20% of your activities and pass it on to somebody else. And every year you should be able to do about 10 to 20% of new activities, which will take you to new heights. And the remaining are for the present. So activities that are meant to achieve the present, activities that are meant to be passed on, selectively forget the past, and activities that are meant to build for the future. The same thing is true with performance conversations. So you can use three-box theory for performance conversations and performance development and everywhere. I think I have talked quite a lot. To summarize, I think it is high time that we start changing our assumptions of people. People come to work because they want to make a difference. They should feel significant at work. People don't come to work for simply collecting salaries and incentives. It is a wrong notion that we have had. Even if some of them come for collecting salaries and incentives, we should change their mindset and get them to substitute with glorious things that they are working for, the wonderful objectives, because every company has some kind of a superordinated goals. So as Robin Sharma say, link paycheck with purpose. So assume that people are very significant kind of human beings, and therefore they would like to be respected at work. Treat them with significance. Do not reduce them to numbers. Help people treat their possibilities and help them to plan their work, help them to plan the entire activity. And in planning activity, let them plan on the basis of role set based expectations. That means stakeholder based and role set based performance management becomes the order of the day. Same way, stakeholder based and role set based performance conversations are there, performance review discussions are there. 360-degree feedback would become an order of the day, so that people are growing to continuously evolve. And in the process of evolution, it may be useful to constantly review our activities and decide which activities which I have been doing too long and I forget the past. Say, I should not be doing this anymore. Which activities should I do to build the future of myself, my company, my stakeholders? Which activities do I do to achieve the kind of targets and so on? When you do all this, I think you would have done a wonderful job. But it requires courage, guts, change of philosophy, and an ability to experiment. If you can't experiment now, after all that we have learned in the last 3 months of COVID, which has demonstrated that all people are equal. 3 months have demonstrated all people are equal. And the visiting cards and designations you have created are only myths, what you have created. Your visiting card is your position. Ultimately, when you die, you don't carry your visiting card. You are not going to be called as chairman of a great organization, president of a country, or prime minister of a country. You will die the same way as any ordinary person. I think that is what all are equal. That is what is the biggest lesson we have learned. And therefore, we start our performance management by treating people with respect. Then we create a new order of a performance management system in our lives. It needs courage, it needs out of the box thinking, and it needs a new generation of people to take this forward. I want to thank you, Himanshu, for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. I very passionately feel about it, and I hope if I can convert a few of you to be equally passionate about it, we have all achieved South Gujarat HRD network, and all of us achieved our purpose. Thank you very much, and I'm open for questions. Himanshu, are you there? You're muted. You're muted. Muted. Ah.
Thank you.
I hope that is of
yeah. Thank you very much. Very passionate sharing, and all of us will be carrying a lot along with us. In fact, lot of sharing came, lot of appreciations have come. Few questions, very few questions are there.
I would very much talk. I mean, appreciations we can always see. Yeah.
Dr. Akhil Basrai said, refreshing thoughts. Ravikanji have found it very appreciative. Same was Indranil ji. One question was there by Miss Lekha Sista. Yeah. The question is, Professor Rao, without numbers and ratings, how do we justify salary increase? Or are you suggesting standard increase or no increase at all?
No, you can increase. There is absolutely no issue. Increases can be in relation to the, let us say, change of the environment. Increase also can be in relation to some kind of an appreciation. You have done well. We are very happy. We have decided to give this particular kind of a thing. I am going to go back to the old days where a group of people, whosoever are there, custodians of the company, look at all the data of the individual. The data individual himself can supply. The individual can give a self-assessment and say, this is what I have done, this is what I have failed to do, and it is left for the company to say whether my validation is considered to be good or not. So you see, final judgment, please remember this, Lekhaben, final judgment, whether you do it with ratings or without ratings, is bound to be subjective. We need to remember this, because as long as human beings decide salary increase or ratings, etc., etc., they are going to be subjectivity. It is the perception of subjectivity that kills. But I think we need to accept subjectivity as a part of life. And when you introduce ratings, what you are doing is you have introduced a lot of overheads, because it looks as though everyone is working for a rating. They forgot enjoying work, and they are only saying, now am I going to get on a 5-point scale or 70%? We have seen, I want to tell you a very interesting experience I have had. In one of the companies, I have introduced performance linked pay. And it was a beautiful, it's a 200 member company, all professionally managed company, chartered accountants, MBAs, and so on. They are the ones who suggested me. I interviewed every single fellow, including the driver, including the class 4 employee, telephone operator, including the managing director, and so on. We came up with a performance linked pay in which the company should perform well at the end of the year. If the company performs well, the company sets aside certain percentage of its profit to be distributed among members. Suppose they say 20% of our profit we are distributing. The 20% is available for 200 members, and it is distributed 1/3 of the salary of every person comes, or 1/3 of whatever is decided, everyone gets. Another third comes on the basis of team's performance. The department should perform well. And another third comes on the basis of individual performance. You have ratings, don't have ratings. In those days, we had ratings. So after this was introduced in this company, 3 years later, I went to this company. One manager came and told me, Professor Rao, thank you very much. 60% increase in my salary, sir. I want to thank you, because it is the performance linked pay you have introduced, which was responsible for my getting 60% increase. I felt very happy. It's nice of you, because you have done individually well, although your department has not done well. Company has given this. About 2 weeks later, when I went to the company, I learned this person has resigned. I was very surprised. 2 weeks ago, he was talking with me with such a great kind of enthusiasm and thanking me for the performance linked pay system. Then the people told me, sir, that day he did not know his neighbor got 90% increase. It is only a week later when he came to know his neighbor got 90% increase. He felt disappointed and he had put in his papers. Please understand this, madam. In India, we derive satisfaction from our neighbor's increase or lack of increase, not from our increase. I think this is what I want to kill. I think kill deriving satisfaction or this kind of a instinct that we have from neighbors. I think you should feel happy if you have performed well. First of all, you should feel happy. I have performed well. Okay, I have performed well, but the top management has not recognized it. Who has recognized it? How do you know that you have performed well? Have you got enough of compliments? I got compliments from whom? My boss. Very good. Your juniors? Yes, they also say that. Okay, that means there may be other compelling reasons why you may not have it. Why are you bothered about this particular kind of an increment? If you get your usual kind of an increment, which is good enough to take care of the, I think, change in the cost of living, etc., that should be good enough. I think leave other things for other people. So I think it has created poison. The rewards in my way are not rewards. It may be reward for you. It is like poison, like this fellow who has left the company and so on. I think we should get rid of this poison. I mean, this is my view. You don't have to agree with me. You can have this, but try it out. I think you will have a new world order.
Sir, another question is from Dr. Ms. Trupti Almula.
Yes, your neighbor.
Yes, true, our neighbor. Sir, how this kind of mindset can be created? That is what my question is.
I think, ma'am, this is $1 million question I have been struggling for the last 45 years. I think in fact, the reason for setting up the National HRD Network is to promote HRD philosophy. I think we have succeeded in some ways, but we still have a long way to go because we are still groping with the corporate sector. We probably want to go to the government and other kind of things. The same way, I think we have to keep on at it. First of all, we should be convinced. Number two, we should create a few missionaries. In fact, recently I started talking of a new role of HR. A most important role of HR is that you should wear a spiritual hat. HR should become a spiritual guru of people. I think this is an elevation I am trying to say. I think forget about all that. These are all mundane kind of things. So in order to do that, I think we should keep on, first of all, be convinced. Second, I think start talking about it and promoting this particular thing. Try experimenting in small ways. I am sure change will come. Already quite some change has taken place. Look at, I think, several of the companies who have done away with bell-shaped curve. Look at some of the companies who have experimented with, I still remember in the National Stock Exchange, performance incentives used it to be, they called it rewards, used it to be decided collectively by all the top level managers sitting together and deciding each person whether this particular person deserved it or not. This was about 15 years ago, but even they wanted to change and they introduced ratings. And I think after they introduced ratings, I think unhappiness went up phenomenally. I don't know what happened to that after that. So my answer to your question is, we have to be at it. It's a long journey. I think as long as we are there, if you are convinced, we keep talking about it. We educate our students, we educate our executives, we start in a small way. And the big opportunity, ma'am, you and I have is to work with small and medium enterprises. I am recommending to small and medium enterprises, particularly small enterprises, don't have a HR manager. It is not needed. You are the HR manager. And if you at best want to have somebody to take care of your legal requirements, and get somebody, some consultant employed to take care of your legal, the people who wear a legal hat, administrative hat, cannot wear a development hat easily. That is why if you want performance developers, you have to have people who wear a spiritual hat and who wear a development hat. If you give them also to wear legal hat and administrative hat, they become like the collectors of appraisal forms rather than enhancers of performance. We are looking for performance enhancers, not collectors of performance appraisal data. Ma'am, it's a long journey. I am sure people like you can inspire your students, inspire the small scale entrepreneurs with whom you are working. By recommending to entrepreneurs, treat your small number of employees as possibilities, respect them, and they will show a beautiful way to you. Himanshu, next question.
Yes. Sir,
I only will give ceremony, sir.
Sir, per se is not there, but lot of people have joined in appreciating Rajiv Shah, Mayur Bhai.
Oh, very nice to see Mayur Bhai. Yeah.
Yes, Mayur Bhai has been very kind to us, sir. Dhwani Rana, Avni, all those people have got profound wisdom from whatever you have shared.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Different, but all of them really energized in true sense. And you touch them. I'm just reading out something, and all are supporting the same. Mr. Gail Bhatt has mentioned less than an hour of talk and so much learning about best and next practice about performance management process. Thanks, Rao Sahab. All others have been supporting. All in their own words they have mentioned. Somebody said different perspective. Somebody, Professor Asit Mohapatra said, I like your straight talk.
Questions? Any questions? Any anything I can help. But they are most welcome to send questions to you. You can forward it to me. This is not the end of the story. So
Yes,
I will visit
do
the
that.
YouTube. If I get, then I'll also answer there.
One question is there, but is little different. Jagan Mohan Reddy, he has asked why companies think of laying off when faced with a crisis like the current pandemic instead of thinking other ways.
Why I cannot answer? It's difficult to answer. Why only they can answer? The only hypothesis I can have is because they have, I would think that they may be having number one constraints, or number two, they may not have been evolved. They may have been a little too selfish, or number four, they have no alternative. I mean, let us also understand, if all the hotel industry is closing down, a particular hotel has nowhere to go. The other day, a school principal called me from Bombay, and he told me, "Sir, I run 3 schools. The government of Maharashtra asked parents not to pay the fee. I have paid the salaries for all my teachers, 80 of them. I have paid them for the last 3 months. There was no work, but I paid them. But I have no money to pay in the next 2 to 3 months. So I am telling my teachers, you are on my rolls. Please don't go anywhere. Once I start collecting the fee, I'll pay you, but I can't pay you for the next month, 1 month, 1.5 months, because I have no money to pay." Now tell me, how can a school management who does not have money, who is living from hand to mouth existence, pay when they are not able to collect any fee? I mean, this is the reality that exists for some of the companies. But the good thing that this particular person has done is that, look, there are other alternatives. Maybe last 3 months he could have spread out 50%, 50%, anticipated something and so on. I normally recommend to people, don't throw away people, keep them on your rolls. There are companies who have done very interesting things. Like, I think there's one company who said the top management salaries there is a ceiling. Nobody will be paid more than 2 lakhs a month. Even if they are for 10, 15, 20 lakhs, ceiling is 2 lakhs, and nobody will get less than 30,000. So saving from the top management, they are passing on to the lower level people. I think this is what is required. So people need to think of alternatives, because this comes when you respect people. You respect, if you treat people as, okay, he's a laborer, he's a tool. If you treat them as a tool, they behave like tools. Okay. So I can't answer why they are thinking. They must be having their own constraints. But I would certainly recommend every owner to think before you do this. And in fact, I am one of those who believe, pose your problems to your team. Maybe they will come up with better alternatives. You are anyway going to get rid of them. If you have to get rid of them, you get rid of them. But before you do that, can you call them and talk to them and say, "Bhai, this is my problem. What is the way we can do this?" Okay. I think that is what I can say. I wish that these people think a little differently, a little more, because I suppose they are constrained in their own kind of ways. And I hope when we become an evolved society, we will behave differently. We are still not an evolved society. Yes, sir.
I think still more appreciations are coming in. Dhananjay Singh ji said, great session. Murali Krishnan has asked a question. What do you foresee as the biggest challenge of HR in next decade or in time to come?
Biggest challenge of HR in the next decade is to lift up HR people to treat human being as a possibility, to respect human beings, to focus on human beings, and not merely treat them as tools, but treat them with respect. So HR has to be lifted up to a spiritual level. That is the biggest challenge. It is easy to bring them down to be administrators. I mentioned about 7 hats of HR people. I said HR people wear 7 hats. One is a legal and IR hat. Second is an administrative hat. Third is a technology hat. All the 3 are very easy to wear. Fourth is a strategic business hat. This is also not too difficult to wear. Fifth is a development hat. Sixth is an intellectual capital building hat. Seventh is a spiritual hat. Now, 5th, 6th, and 7th are very difficult to wear. This is the biggest challenge. It is very easy to push a HR man to be a legal fellow, take the law into the hand, and then start applying the law. Legal hat is most easiest, IR hat is easiest, administrative hat is next easiest. Most difficult is to wear an intellectual, invisible capital developer. You are an invisible capital developer. You are a spiritual capital developer. That is something which is the biggest challenge that we have, and we have a long way to go.
So one more interesting observation. Devashish Satpathy, he said, after a long gap, I could listen to a session, less of jargon and more of actions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Before you close, I want to say something. I know some of my friends like GP Rao will comment on the shirt I am wearing. This is National HRD Network shirt. And they will probably say, Professor Rao wears every time this shirt. This is the only shirt I have gifted to me by one of the presidents of National HRD Network, NS Rajan. And I treat it with sentiment. I normally clean it, iron it, and keep it for the next HRD event. This is my devotion to National HRD Network. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. We all are honored and we are really grateful to you. We all are carrying a lot with us so far as wisdom is concerned, shared by you, worth working upon. And I'm sure, sir, all who are here, we also will have the same kind of feeling what I have. Sir, on behalf of National HRD Network South Gujarat chapter and National HRD Network in general, I am thanking you, sir, first, and all those.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for making this happen. Thank you. I'll close this.
Yes.